Welcome on into Gemcast Live. This is our next edition of this. We're going over RL's wonderful little story here. We're going to hop in here in a bit, but first we want to give the author an opportunity to kind of give us an introduction. This is not the first chapter in her story, so we want to give her a chance to be able to express, where we're at, what we're dealing with before we dive right in head first.
All right. So this is chapter 3 of the story. The first couple of chapters cover more of the MC and just kind of her background. And then the story really starts to pick up in chapter 3 and goes from there.
Gotcha. Is there anything pertinent that you think we should know about going into this, having not had a chance to read 1 and 2 yet on if we hadn't or whatnot?
My MC, Drew, she works in an office. And in chapter 1, she was assigned to train a golden retriever type person. And she is not a golden retriever type of person herself. And so she's very annoyed by this assignment. And in chapter 2, it's mostly just her getting home and kind of realizing that she didn't want a boring night tonight. And so she decides to go on a walk, which is where we start chapter 3.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we'll have more questions afterwards. Remember, folks, get those questions ready so we can make sure to have good discussion in post. But now we're going to move on to the live reading of Chapter 3 of Living Blood. I didn't have a plan. I had my jacket, my house key, and the growing certainty that if I stayed home 1 minute more, the walls would start talking back. So I strolled. I never minded the nightlife as much as the daytime. The daytime is just so loud and bright, crowded with people going about their lives and not caring that they are practically shoulder to shoulder with others on the street. How could people not feel claustrophobic in the city during the day? At night, there's significantly fewer people out. A lot less traffic, less noise. A boon to introverts, such as I. I took a deep breath, breathing in the scent of the nearby bay, petrichor and fish, the signature scent of Seattle. The fog wrapped around me, making everything look just a bit more eerie than usual. I headed north. I figured I'd circle the block at least once. The fluorescent lights of the corner deli cast light blue and red on the sidewalk, glowing in the oily puddle next to the manhole. Oh man, you gotta love Seattle. I continued on, enjoying the night breeze, and only occasionally passing others by in the light fog, but with 1,000 windows glowing like distant eyes. I didn't have to believe in the supernatural to feel just a little haunted here. A familiar, boisterous laugh broke the air ahead of me when I jerked my head up toward the sound. Ahead, Michael was escorting a woman on his arm. Perhaps a date if their nice outfits were any indication. I looked down at my sweats and hoodie. My shoes barely more than slippers. Wait, slippers? I looked back down to confirm that. Yep, I had indeed got on in my slippers instead of the regular shoes. So much for going for a walk, I thought to myself, as I turned to start back toward home. I glanced back at my would-be trainee, a bit unnerved to run into him so close to home. They had stopped at a building. Presumably she lived there. And if he was there to drop her off after their date. Please, God, if you exist, have any mercy at all. Please don't let that be where Michael lives. That's less than a block away from home. A passing car's lights shone on them briefly. I noticed something. Something feels off about this. A lead weight in my gut told me something was not right here. I couldn't pinpoint what it was, but something about Michael himself was bothering me. He seemed a bit desperate, looking for someone who just went on a date. The woman used a code on the building's front door to open it. What does he have to be so desperate about? They started into the building, and without thinking, I followed, catching the door before it could lock behind them. I waited a few moments, not wanting to be caught snooping, also not knowing what the hell I was even doing. This is so dumb, I whispered to no one before opening the door just wide enough to slip in, quietly closing the door behind me. Following their voices, I saw them on the landing of the 3rd floor. I stopped on the half landing between the 2nd and 3rd floors, just out of sight behind the railing. I could just make them out between the bars at the rails. They chatted for a moment before she turned to go in. Michael started to lean in, his golden brown hair catching the light. Oh God, don't let him try to kiss her. She's obviously not interested. Then I noticed how incredibly still the girl had gone. Unnaturally still. And he continued to lean in. What is she doing? What is he doing? Is this lady okay? Instead of his lips puckering, they pulled back into a snarl. I squinted. Something is weird about those teeth. Are they longer? The thought barely registered before he suddenly bit the side of her neck. She remained stuck still in his grip as I watched my trainee clamp down on this poor woman's throat. Oh, hell no, is all that I had time to think before I saw red. My body seemed to move automatically to save this fellow woman from this sicko. I raced up the stairs, grabbing his arm to get him away from her. Michael's body and head whipped around to reveal a mouthful of blood-stained teeth. I froze, my blood rushing into my ears. Everything felt off kilter. My eyes darted to the woman's neck only. She was fine? No wound, just a small bloody patch that could easily be wiped away. Still frozen in place, but otherwise completely fine. I glanced back at Michael, noting the fear in his eyes. Mouth still bloody. Why should he be afraid? He's not 5 feet total. 5 feet of fury at the moment, but sure, but... Please don't tell anyone else I'm a vampire, he squeaked out. I stood there in complete shock at the turn of events. First, I forgot my shoes. Then I see Michael and his date less than a block away from home and decide to stalk them for who knows why. And now he's saying he's a vampire. That's totally unlike me to begin with. So if you had a vampire discovery, of course I must be dreaming. I'm having a very strange dream, because I started working directly with him today. That's all. The vampire bit is random, though. I can't think of anything that had to do with vampires today at work. Michael stared at me, as if waiting for a reaction. He looked ready to bolt. Stupid dream, I muttered before flatly going, oh no, a vampire. Everyone head for the hills. I could give Gene Wilder's Wonka a run for his money with that performance. Don't stop. Come back. I was completely deadpan. He pulled back and scrunched his face into a look of confusion, his back straightening and making him taller. What do you mean, stupid dream? His frank tone gave me pause, as did his towering height, which made me remember yet again just how small I was in this situation. Breathe. It's just a stupid dream. I glared up at him. Duh, dream, vampires aren't real smartass. But he only shook his head at me. I can't believe I got caught. Such an idiot. But I was just so thirsty. Wringing his hands and then grabbing his hair, he seemed to be serious. I looked up at him. Damn being so short. And squinted my eyes. My hands on my hips. There's no way you're serious. There's no way this is real. This is the result of too much TV and fantasy novels and an oddly early bedtime. I nodded to myself as if in confirmation. Too much fantasy. Maybe I ought to try something a little less exciting for a while. Michael grabbed my wrist, his fingers like ice, and waved my own hand in front of my face. This isn't a dream, Drew. And now I'm serious, in serious trouble. If you go and tell everyone. He just as quickly let go of me. He began to pace as he worried. No, I won't be in trouble if I... Damn it, I don't know how. My hand was still warm, but my spine had gone rigid and cold. His hand was real. He was real. Really, I froze standing in this random apartment building with Michael and his date. The latter, still eerily frozen. I tried to keep my breath steady, even though everything in me screamed to run away from this monster. Shit. What am I supposed to do? But he was the one acting scared. I just needed to keep my face straight and not show my fear. Michael cleared his throat. Is there any way you could just pretend this never happened, Drew? I'm embarrassed and flustered. I don't know what else to do right now. Perhaps I could use this to my advantage. I don't know, Michael. I lifted a hand to my chin, holding that elbow in my other hand, attempting a thoughtful visage. In my eyes, you just attacked this woman, and as a woman myself, I see that aberrant behavior as something that needs correcting, not ignoring. And obviously, I don't have the know-how for that, so it is my responsibility to report this, is it not? The ball was in his court now. Now, to see what he does. He looked like a puppy who just got scolded. His entire demeanor was suddenly that of a chastened dog. He glanced back at his date. Drew, can we please take this somewhere else, so I can let Kelsey go? Go back down a couple steps so she doesn't see you, and then I can walk away, and she'll hear my steps. I glared at him, untrusting. You'll have your eyes on me the whole time, and I'll be walking towards you. No risk of me trying to hypnotize you. We haven't spent enough time together. That brought up more questions than anything, but I didn't want to traumatize Kelsey any more than we already had. Without breaking eye contact, I cautiously stepped backwards to go down the stairs, begging every deity I could think of that this would not be the time where I'd trip and tumble down to my death. By some miracle, I made it back to my spot at the half landing without breaking my neck. Michael wiped the blood off Kelsey's neck with the sleeve of his black jacket, then didn't seem to do anything when suddenly The static Kelsey reanimated. She continued to unlock her door when she paused on her own. Michael paused himself on the first step down upon noticing. "Hey, Mike, you want to come in for coffee before you go?" I raised my brows. Dang, his date must have gone well. Up until he went and ruined it with non-consensual neck-sucking. It was obvious he really wanted to, and who could blame him? Whether he was a vampire or a creep or both, this would be the perfect opportunity to get a victim alone. He let out a heavy breath. "I really want to, Kels. I do. But I have something I'm actually running a little late for." He rubbed the back of his neck sheepishly as he asked, "Would you like to go out again sometime?" She smiled and nodded with a cute "sure." And then, "I'll text you, Mike." She waved at him, and he returned the wave with his own shy grin. He continued down the steps, and she closed the door with a click that might have made Michael flinch just a little. Poor baby. You'll get over it. I was fuming. What the hell was that? A whisper yelled at Michael. What the hell was what? He whispered back with similar urgency. That shy act, you just fed on her. Would you like to go out again sometime? Was her company that good? Or was it her blood? Either way, you just violated that girl's trust and have no right to meet with her ever again as far as I'm concerned. What kind of creep are you? At this point, I was faced with a possible vampire and had nothing to defend myself with. Heck, even if he was just a freak of some kind, I had left home without nothing but my phone. I had even forgotten my pepper spray. I really must have been out of it. I was sitting right next door to the door, right above my shoes. Did I really just up and walk out of my apartment? Did I even close the door? What if Oscar got out? I had no idea where my brain was. So who's to say if I left the door to my home wide open or not? But I had to keep my focus on the vampire in front of me. I did not want to fall victim to him like Kelsey had. Michael defended. I did genuinely have a nice time with her, and I wouldn't mind seeing her again. He sighed. But you're right. I went about everything all wrong. Stupid, 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 he emphasized, beating his fist against his forehead with each word. He put his hand down, letting it hang limply. I genuinely don't know what to do right now. He looked like a lost puppy, dejected and frightened. Was I starting to feel sorry for him? Stop that. Okay, we need to talk, and the only place I can think of is home. I can grab my pepper spray as I walk in. Then I won't be completely defenseless, at least. Plus, maybe if I kept him close, I could stay in control of the situation better. We need to talk, and I'm pretty sure you'd prefer privacy, right? He nodded in assent. Well, come on then. I guess we'll go back to my place. We walked in silent, a woman and a vampire, toward home, questions swirling in my mind while Michael walked with dread. A man whose secret had just been revealed. End of chapter.
Okay. That's different. Like I thought that was pretty cool. Normally when you have a vampire, the person, who discovers the vampire is the one in trouble and not the other way around. So that was a pretty cool twist on the trope. Nice.
Yeah, you're right.
Thank you. When I went into the story, I wanted to kind of flip things around to make it a different type of vampire story because vampires are always broody and uh, dark and mysterious. And I wanted the vampire in my book to be the complete opposite of that. So he has golden retriever energy and he is just a ball of sunshine and everybody loves him. And that's how he's able to hide, is that he's such a peppy, happy person. There's no possible way that he could possibly be a vampire.
So essentially, everything about him is just anti-vampire, anti-gothic, anti all that. He's like, this sounds like you'd be like the barista vampire almost.
A
I,
bit.
I'm not hating. I'm not hating that. That's a cool thing because you're right. It's so different because normally, especially in we have seen your story set in Seattle, and we have seen a lot of Cascadia-based stories before relating to vampires, and it's really cool seeing again a break in the trope to where the vampire is essentially, I don't know if victim is the right word, but definitely not the aggressor, or at least not aggressive
Mhm.
in his aggressions. I like that. It's interesting. That's interesting. Which vampire series or stories, or who do you take your most inspiration from when it comes to vampire lore? And which vampire saga do you think the rules of your vampires fit the most closely to?
To be completely honest, I haven't actually read any vampire books. So I went into this completely blind
Well, surely,
and
surely you've read like,
hoping for the best.
surely you've read like, or at least watched like vampire cinema or vampire television, correct?
A little bit, yes.
Okay, okay. So, were any of those a serious inspiration for you, or you just again went back to this kind of blind?
Um, it really was mostly blind. I did do a little bit of research, if you would call it that, by watching some vampire movies and things like that. But I really wanted my vampire to be different. And they were always so moody and gothic and everything, of course. And so I basically just, in my brain, made him as opposite of a vampire as I could.
I like that. I like that.
Hopeless had a question. Actually, like, yeah, I was wondering, like, when Jake was reading, like, who the short person was, because at first I thought that, like Hopeless, that the vampire was short, but then she talks about
Ah,
like how she looks up at him and she's like lamenting how short she is. So, like, can we talk about the shortness and like who it is
yes,
and like how that's having an effect? Yeah.
I can verify that. Okay. So in the first couple of chapters, part of her description is that she is a short person, my MC. She's only just over 5 foot,
Okay, so that's
whereas
what that was.
Michael is just over 6 foot. So there's at least a foot of height difference between the two of them.
Okay, so that makes that line make a whole lot more sense. Gotcha. Because when I was reading that line, even reading it, I felt kind of a little off right there because I think there's a small typo when it said why should he be afraid? Because this is Drew thinking right here.
Yeah,
Yeah, it says he's not five
yeah, that
feet
is a
tall.
typo.
It's okay. It threw us all off for a second there, and then it got cleared up. It got cleared up because like later on that page, I think it says like right here. Where is it? It was very close afterwards, though it cleared itself up. Yeah, I looked up at him, damn, being so short, and that itself cleared the whole thing up for me at least. I think did it clear up for you guys also? I think so.
Well, no, it definitely said that she was short, but I was wondering if like he was short for a guy too. Like, yeah, like, but now it's pretty clear.
Well, and then he goes full elf king on us and goes like 7 feet tall on us almost. That was kind of the vibe I got. So just out of curiosity, how tall would you say Michael actually is?
He's only a little over 6 foot. So not extremely tall, but on the taller end of average, I would say.
Gotcha. So he's not catching anybody in that what was that meme song from the summer? I'm looking for a guy in finance, 6'5", brown eyes. So he won't be quite catching that fade.
Not quite.
Felipe asks, people tend to cross over vampires with werewolves a lot. What other creatures do you guys think would be an interesting crossover relation or encounter? Or is there maybe something in your story that, like, other than vampires, that might have some type of dynamic to go along with the book?
That's actually something I bring up in the second book. There is a scene in the first book that kind of, trying to think of the proper word, prompts or hints at there being other supernatural creatures out there. And then in book two, it's confirmed to be werewolves.
Nice, nice. With werewolves, I always get the kind of like I always like the urge with werewolves is that once there's the existence of werewolves confirmed, is they're the existence of werebears or werepanthers. Like True Blood, for instance, they actually by season 4, I believe it was, they introduced werepanthers into the universe where they had werewolves. Now there's actually different types of wares, and so
Ah.
which I always thought that was really cool. Do you find yourself in any way wanting to branch out from that as well, or do you just stick into the wolf pack?
For this series, I'd probably just stick to the wolf pack just to keep things simple, because the story is more about the vampires than about the werewolves.
Fair.
So the werewolves are more in the background and aren't as central,
That's okay.
I guess, to the story as the vampires are.
That's okay. Yeah, and one of the things I notice a lot in American, especially in the last 20 years, the kind of trope that starts happening is that we see. I know this happened in Vampire Diaries a little bit. I know this happened in True Blood. Sorry, not True Blood. Twilight. But there's a common theme where a lot of times in American werewolves, they just imprint them onto a Native American tribe and go. And this is part of the tribal history of the Native Americans for this particular brand. They're now they're actually werewolves. Are you? What do you think about that particular type of trope that's been happening over the years?
I I find it an interesting trope. As a kid, I was actually quite interested in Native American history and culture. And so seeing that trope kind of pop up, it piqued my interest a little bit, just because that was something that I was interested in as a kid. Um, yeah.
Thank you. No, Aiden, I think Lucy has a question.
Yeah, Lucia asked, what made you write about vampires? Given that you haven't read or watched much about them, and you also decided to go against what vampires are normally portrayed as.
Okay. So my writing journey, um, it really started with me and my depression just not being good and needing to find a way out of my depression. Growing up, I had been interested in writing and becoming an author, but I never really pursued it or did anything about it. And for whatever reason, it popped in my head during one of my depressive episodes that I used to be interested in this. And so I decided to go onto Pinterest and look up different story prompts. And one of the ones that I found, I ended up using as the first line of my story, actually, is vampires must be real. Every day I meet at least one person who sucks the life out of me. And I just kind of built the story from there.
I'm sorry. That's fun. That's funny because that's kind of true, isn't it? If you have a boss or you have a kid or you have you know a, 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 a rough situation with a spouse or whatever, I like that line. You need to go ahead and just save that line and make sure it's in the story somewhere. That's good. That's good
Yeah,
stuff.
that's the opening line.
Oh, respect. Hey, the opening line has to be epic though, because that's your opening line. I mean, we all know Tale of the Two Cities' opening line, even if you haven't read the story. It was the best of
Hmm.
times, it was the worst of times, it was the age of innocence, it was the age of incredulity. If you have a great opening line, it transcends your story. That's really cool. That's cool. I like that you use that. Um, do you feel like what ma- what makes Seattle a worthwhile place for you to explore this story? Is it where you're from? Is it just that it fits well into using vampires because of fog opportunities? What was it about Seattle?
So I actually grew up in Eastern Washington, the opposite side of the state from where Seattle is. Um, and so Seattle was always like this big city to me, kind of like New York in my mind almost, even though they're completely different, obviously. And so as a kid, I always saw it as this big, mysterious place. And because of the weather being as it is, the mystery is deepened even more by the gray clouds and the fog and the rain. And then also, as a Seattle native, this is going to sound very petty, but I wanted to write a better vampire novel based in Washington than Stephanie Myers did, because I felt like she just completely ruined the state of Washington for Seattle's almost. So I wanted to kind of redeem that.
That was a great idea. That was a great idea because yeah, that was rough. And then of course, then there's also the sad truth that 50 Shades of Grey started originally as a fan fiction for Twilight as well,
Yeah, I
which
still
is
can't wrap my head around that.
yeah, same. It's one of those where you're just like, what? So at what point did you decide that Bella was no longer a person and just something that you beat with a stick? That's kind of that's terrible.
Yeah,
That's
it
terrible.
was. Yeah, I never read the books, but I watched the movies as part of my research before going into this.
Uh,
And it was after seeing those movies, I was like, yes, I have to write this book now because, oh my God, that was bad.
it was. There are some fans out there of it, but it definitely I think there are much deeper and better vampire media, and I kind of like that this is feeling. Is it what would you describe this story as? Is it more slice of life? Is it more adventure? Is it more romance? Is it more drama? What would you say it's gonna fit most as?
It's got a romance subplot. Um, but after the first uh, about 17 to 18 chapters, those first chapters are more slice of lifey. And then starting in chapter 18, I'm not going to spoil it or anything, but it starts to become much more, oh, what's the word I want to use?
Is it thriller, adventure, mystery, romance,
It's
macabre?
it's like a mix of thriller and mystery with
We'll,
with the
ju-
romance subplot still
we'll
there.
jump right on that thriller tag because it's easy to get like on the genre list and the trending list. You can get some followers that way.
Hey, don't tell everybody, man. I'm only five from the bottom right now. I don't want to get kicked off. I don't want to get.
All we're gonna get all the gems on Rising Stars thriller.
Oh gosh, then they'll just change the genre to the gems genre.
Should have a
That'd be
genre.
funny.
So so we have a couple of questions. The one of them is how long have you been? It says how long have you been writing this franchise? So like I don't know if that's how long have you been writing this book or how long do you plan this book to be?
Answer both.
Um, I started writing this book this summer, probably June-ish, maybe a little before that. Um, Sorry, what was the second half of the question?
How long do you think the series is going to go?
Ah, I'm planning on this to be a trilogy.
Okay. Oh, yeah, okay, that's pretty cool. And finally, we had Hopeless ask, like, what made you decide to write this in first person as opposed to third person?
Um, Honestly, it's just how it started coming out. When I started writing it, it just came out as first person. Um, I'm not exactly sure why, but it has made it so that I can get into the MC's head a little easier at times. Uh, yeah,
I like that.
Oh, sounds good. Sounds good. No, go ahead, Jake.
No, that's all I was gonna say is I like the way it flows because it doesn't feel forced. It feels very natural. Um, and because whenever you're doing something, when you're doing third person, at times you can get more a little too descriptive sometimes. And with first person, you're kind of in their brain, living with them, experiencing this with them, and so that's really a fun
mhm.
feeling. So I think you make it work well with the chapter, and I'm excited to see more of these the story.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me too. I liked it.
it was awesome.
Um, yeah, I liked it. I like that it's a completely different type of vampire. So that's already is just gonna grab some interest. You got slice of life. You have contemporary. Yeah, you got like, a nice little dynamic going on. It's interesting to see where this is gonna go.
Thank you.
See, like, 'cause people are typing.
Well,
Oh,
I
gotcha.
just wanted to write a tagline for her. I'm sorry, that was lame. That was a little lame, but no, I take a bite out of life. Anyway, if we have no further questions or whatnot, I just wanted to say thank you guys all for coming out here today, and I hope, and we'll have this up on YouTube, obviously, for those who weren't around. And I hope that we enjoyed having the opportunity for RL to hop in as the author to be able to give some background before, and then be able to obviously answer questions afterwards. But any other further words from first RL? Any other words?
uh, Go check out my story, please. I've got nothing else. Yeah, I've had a lot of fun writing this story, and getting to know these characters has been really, really fun.
Excellent, excellent. Aiden, anything you want to say?
I just want to thank everybody for coming out. Like I said before, this episode even started, like, it was my fault. I didn't put the actual invitation into the announcement, so I was happy when like about half the normal people managed to find it through the events area, and so I was like, damn, yeah. But then, we had a decent showing. Like, I always appreciate when you guys come out to these, because everybody gets excited to have their story read and maybe a little nervous. And so when the gems come out and support and listen and ask questions, and that's I think that's pretty cool. So, like, I appreciate you guys coming out to these, and let's keep it going. This is a cool little thing that we do. And thank you, Jake, for reading, and thank you, RL, for writing the story. It's really cool.
Thank you. And thank you, Jake, for reading it. You did a fantastic job.
Thank you. No, sometimes I get a little nervous, I'm just like praying that like that day that I have the right vocal tone, because no joke, it's voice is a real thing, man, and you sometimes I'm like, oh no, I don't have it right today, and so I was like, oh, thank you. I could tell very quickly that I was gonna have it halfway decent today, so I was like, awesome, this will work. And I think, and like I said, it fit your story tone well though, which is I was so happy for, because sometimes I'm a little nervous if it's gonna actually fit or not. So thank you. And I hope that everyone really enjoyed, and then finds it in their heart to go and follow her story on RR. Keep it up there and be able to read along and really, get invested and find out if Drew can handle Michael or not. Thank you all.